Hey guys, and welcome to my channel. In this video, I'm going to be talking to you about why people become suspended in the police application process. Now, to help you prepare for the police application process, I have this video which details all of the different things that you're going to need in that process and some tips to help you, especially if you're applying with multiple agencies. In this video, we're going to be discussing why people are suspended from the police application process. So not even making it through the application process. These are different things that I have compiled. This could vary from agency to agency, but most likely it's probably going to be pretty similar to this. So the first one I'm going to talk about is not complying with everything in the process. Many departments are going to have you fill out an initial application. They're going to have you go through a physical fitness assessment. They're going to have you go through various steps in the process. You're also going to have to provide a lot of information about you, your previous employers, your education, and various other documents that they're going to be asking you about. Again, in that application process video, I go over all of the little nitty-gritty things that most agencies are going to ask for. If you don't complete that, if you don't get that back to them, they cannot proceed with you in the application process. So not complying with what they need and not turning in what you need to is going to get you removed from that process. That happens a lot. So whether that's because a candidate's no longer interested or whether they become interested with another department, it's something that is going to hem somebody up in a process. You can't be processed through if you don't provide what they need. So make sure you have everything you need. Again, if you watch that application process video, that's going to go through everything I can think of that you may possibly need for that. The next thing I'm going to discuss is criminal history. So sometimes people have a criminal history that is either too extensive or they don't share enough about it, or they try to say, oh, it's disorderly conduct, when it was actually more than that. Something in their criminal history is going to make them ineligible, or they're not going to be giving all the information that they should or need to as far as that criminal history. Every agency has different things within criminal history they will or will not accept. If you think you're going to get through the process omitting something as it relates to criminal history or as it relates to a criminal charge, you are not going to. They will find, I know these background investigators, y'all, they are going to find every single little thing about you. They're gonna find out whatever these things are, so you can discuss ahead of time with them if it's something that would still have you be eligible within that process. Nothing is going to be hidden from your background investigator. Another thing that could remove you from your application process is deliberately omitting information. Now, whether this is in reference to previous employment or criminal history or something else within your background, if you intentionally do not disclose information when it is asked for in the application process, that is going to look very negative for you. So make sure that you're very outright and forthcoming and share everything that's asked of you during this process. There are also times when people fail their psychological evaluations. So this could be for a variety of reasons, and I am not a psychologist, nor do I review the results of what people's psychological reports entail, but somewhere within that process, it's believed that they would not be a good candidate for law enforcement. There's nothing you can do to change this. So when you go into all these different steps of the process, again, just be honest, share all the information that they want you to share, do your best, and see where you land. Candidates are also removed from the application process because of their traffic history. So whether this entails numerous violations or maybe a hit and run or a DUI, there's something within their driving history that's going to make them ineligible in the process. Again, this is not something you can change. It's not something you can hide if it's already there at the point when you're applying. Now, if you're considering being in law enforcement, you can try your best to not be arrested. It's usually not too difficult to not be arrested. And you can also be very careful when you're driving. Do things that are legal when you're driving. So never drink and drive. Sometimes within this process, somebody within the review of an application, usually when you get to your different command level of review, they're going to be looking at everything in that file and they see something that maybe they don't agree with, or maybe they don't think that that person would be the best fit for law enforcement. That is another way that somebody could potentially be removed or suspended from the application process. An applicant could also be removed from the process if they have a law enforcement termination. There's also what we have within law enforcement categorized as, and this can vary from state to state, but retiring or resigning in lieu of termination. Many times within the process, the employee has the ability to resign or retire before they are actually terminated by the agency. But the fact that they were presented with a termination and they retired or resigned in lieu of termination does not change the circumstances in which they decided to resign or retire. That could be a reason your application could be suspended and you may no longer be considered for a position in that department. An applicant could also be removed from a process because of their drug usage. So typically an agency is going to have what it could be acceptable or unacceptable. Again, I love using marijuana use, so I'm going to throw that out there again. There's a big difference between using marijuana when you were in high school or experimenting with it versus using marijuana daily until the day you submit your application. I think we can all recognize that there's a time difference there. There's also a frequency difference. There's a huge difference between experimenting with marijuana versus the day before I apply, I'm gonna stop using this. Big difference. Some applicants do not have the greatest work history, or maybe they walked off of a job, or maybe they had a lot of conflict in a position, or maybe they've been terminated from many other positions in the past. These are all things that will be considered when the decision is brought forward. Are you going to hire this applicant or not? Some people do fail the CVSA, that computer voice stress analyzer exam. There may be questions asked, and it may be that examiner's opinion that that person is being deceptive. These are things that have an influence over whether that applicant is hired or not. There are also applicants who fail their medicals. So somewhere within whatever the medical guidelines are for the police officer, they do not pass in whatever category. And it's believed that they would not be able to efficiently perform the duties of a police officer. There are times when people fail their actual medical examinations. There's some kind of an indicator that would make a physician believe that they would not be able to effectively perform the duties of a police officer, or maybe they believe they would not be able to effectively do the training that's required for law enforcement. And sometimes people have affiliations with people or networks that are known to be involved in criminal activity. This is something that you will see with gangs. People may have some kind of gang involvement or affiliation. And again, when that background investigator is going into all the little details and nooks and crannies of your life, that is something that they are going to find out. I hope you enjoyed this video and you learned something. And a lot of you reach out to me because you're wondering about, would this be okay or would that be okay in the police application process? Bless y'all's hearts, because I think a lot of the things you're worrying about are not things that are going to get you removed from a process. So hopefully by watching this video, if that is something that you are worried or concerned about, you can breathe a little bit easier, rest a little bit easier. It will be okay in the process. Another thing I really hate to see is when people think that they will not be eligible, or they think that there'll be something that will make them not be selected to be a police officer, and they don't even apply. What a disservice to yourself. What a disservice to all these police departments who would love to have you be a police officer. There are many amazing people who go on to be amazing cops, who have done things in their past that they're not proud of, or who want to change their life, do things differently, and become a police officer. In general, most agencies want people in law enforcement from all different kinds of backgrounds. It's not just people who've done military previously. It's not just people who have police in their families. We want everybody. We want a very diverse work environment. I know I've worked with people who have been all different kinds of occupations before they were a police officer. In my agency, we have people who are lawyers, we have people who are teachers, we have people who are IT computer people. I would really encourage you, if you think you may not be eligible, because again, I know you guys are out there because you're reaching out to me and you contact me. If you think you might not be eligible, check with an agency first and then go through that application process, because you may be surprised by the things that actually will not disqualify you or remove you from the process. I can't stress enough to reach out to a background investigator, reach out to somebody and get more information and clarification from them on that. As always, y'all stay safe out there, and I will see you in my next video. Bye guys. Traffic violations. Sometimes candidates are an application. I think we could all recognize that there's a time distance.